Legoland Windsor is located in Windsor, UK, and with having over 30 rides and attractions, it is easy to know why it's Britain's favourite theme park. However, today, by using the categories thrill, queueline, theming and enjoyment, we are going to review and rank every ride at Legoland Windsor. Starting off with a bang, we have Flight of the Sky Lion, and where do I begin when talking about this legendary attraction? Opening last year in 2021 alongside the rest of LEGO Mythica, we were all blown away by the theming as well as atmosphere of this land, and despite the queue line for this attraction being the dreaded cattle pen, with the many LEGO models, interactive screens and new for 2022 online games, I never mind queuing up for this ride. As soon as the pre-show is completed though, you and up to 85 others will take off with the Sky Lion into the wonderful world of LEGO Mythica. Through the use of projections, smell sensors and of course rocking seats, in my eyes you feel as if you are really flying across the land, and therefore we've decided to give this ride a combined score of 28. Located right next door to the Sky Lion, and one that should definitely not be missed on your visit, Ice Freefall is the ride for those little thrill seekers out there. Standing at a total of 43 feet in the air, this is definitely not one of the biggest rides in the world, but still with its thrills and some amazing views across the park, it should definitely not be missed. Nevertheless, what I particularly love about this ride is that unlike Scarab bouncers where there is only one seat for the adults, anyone can enjoy rising, dropping and bouncing on one of two nicely themed towers. So overall, every part of this ride, apart from the queue unfortunately, is great, and for those reasons it scores halfway at 20. For our last ride within the brand new LEGO Mythica land, we have Hydra's Challenge, and previously known as Squid Surfers, this has always been a fan favourite of mine, and for good reason, but we will get onto that later on, as firstly I need to talk about the queue line. Now, despite me having a go at the other rides so far, nothing compares to this, as not only is it the cattle pen, but with its incredibly long cycles, you can expect an average waiting time of 90 minutes on those hot summer days, which I do not know about you, but for me, that is a big no-no. Yet everything else on this ride is so much fun, with you being able to use the wheel in front of you to control how fast you head through the water. Just beware of the spectators, as they can also get you wet, but in my opinion it adds a little bit more points towards the ride, which I am going to give a final score of 17. Who here wants to drive their very own car? Well, of course you do, and for our next ride on the list, not only can you drive a car, but a Lego car over at Lego City Driving School. Believe it or not, this ride is located in Lego City. As long as you are below the age of 13 years old, you can jump aboard and get ready for a drive like no other. By pushing the pedal, you will be able to accelerate and head around many Lego City roads, featuring some of the coolest Lego scenes ever. However, this is not all easy driving, as in addition to all of this, there are traffic lights, roundabouts and even speed cameras, so make sure not to drive people crazy. Ding ding, if you want to gain your official LEGO driving license. The question is though, is driving school going to get the best ride at the park's license? I don't think so at a score of 17. It is time to get your armour at the ready, as we are about to tame the dragon on the Dragon roller coaster, and since its debut all the way back in 1998, this has always been a fan favourite. situated within the highly themed Knight's Kingdom. Before we even get onto the ride itself, with you being able to queue up around the turrets of the castle, there is no doubt in my mind that this is the best queue at Legoland. However, the positivity does not stop there, as on the ride itself, unlike your normal roller coaster where you just have the thrills, on the Dragon of course you have over 2 lift hills, drops and many bank turns throughout, but you also begin the ride by heading through the castle. How awesome is that? And therefore my childhood roller coaster, the Dragon, has got a whopping score of 39. Do you think you have what it takes to become a ninja? Well, if so, you should definitely give LEGO Ninjago the ride a go, as similar to many of the other interactive laser gun rides from around the world, the aim of the game is to shoot the baddies and gain as many points as you can. Yet this laser game has been taken to the next level, as with the use of screens, special effects and theming pieces, you really feel as if you are in the program. My favourite aspect of the ride though has to be the way that you shoot, as like a ninja, by moving your hands forward, like magic it will shoot it forward too. Just the only problem with this ride is that with so much technology being used throughout, it can sometimes not work or break down. So when assessing all of this, LEGO Ninjago the ride is getting a combined score of 23. From becoming a ninja to a deep sea diver, we are now going to head under the sea with the very fishy LEGO City Deep Sea Adventure. Okay, that joke was awful, but this ride sure isn't, with once you have headed through the OK queue line, you and your family will get the opportunity to set aboard your very own submarine in the hunt for the lost city of Atlantis. A quick tip in advance though is to try your best to get the blue side of the submarine, as with its 2 portholes at the front, if you stick your head through it can get a surround view of all the sea life. Nevertheless, no matter where you sit, being able to see everything from fish to sharks to even LEGO deep sea divers up close creates an experience that will never be forgotten, and therefore we have decided to give Deep Sea Adventure a score of 15. If the Dragon looks a little bit too intense for you, but you still want the thrills of a roller coaster, then you would love the 3rd biggest roller coaster in Berkshire, DUPLO Dino Coaster, as that is exactly what you get. Situated within the heart of DUPLO Valley, I absolutely love the thought that has gone into this ride to not only make it fit with the land, but also create a really enjoyable experience for the younger guests out there. The ride itself does not disappoint either though, with despite it not being a coaster like the Dragon, on the 2 laps that you will experience a small lift hill, drops as well as a bank turn. So with all of this and so much more, there is no doubt in my mind that this is a great first coaster at the park, and a worthy one of a total score of 15. Are you ready to partay? Well, if you are, you have got to take a ride on the new for 2019 Haunted House Monster Party. And what can I say apart from this ride is spooktastic. Ding ding. Now for starters, I have to mention the facade for this ride, as apart from the giant warehouse, or should I say shed, at the back of the building, with it being a replica to the previous LEGO sets that they have built, it really makes you feel as if you are the size of LEGO and builds up the anticipation for the ride. This only continues though within the queue line and the pre-show, with all of the interactiveness and soundtracks playing throughout. But the ride has to be the coolest part, as once you enter into the banquet hall, the lights will turn out, and from there, before you know it, you'll be singing and dancing whilst also heading upside down. Wink wink. Therefore, there is no doubt that in my mind, this ride deserves a total score of 29. Don't fear guys, the scary monsters have gone, but instead we are now going to take a trip onto one of my favourite childhood memories, Fairy Tale Brook, where your favourite fairy tales come to life. Featuring every story, and get ready for it, from the Three Little Pigs, to Sleeping Beauty, to Hansel and Gretel, to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, to Cinderella, to Aladdin, to Goldilocks and the Three Bears, to even Little Red Riding Hood. From the second you board the Leap Safe boat, you know that you will be in for a treat. In addition to this, similar to the Haunted House Monster Party, there are so many interactive games to play in the queue line. But unlike the Haunted House Monster Party, this queue never becomes longer than 10 minutes. So with all of that said, I think Fairy Tale Brook is easily worthy of 21. Have you ever wanted to become a captain of your very own boat? Well, if so, you have to take a ride on Coastguard HQ, as you can do just that. Nevertheless, before we do begin to talk about the ride itself, out of all the attractions at the park, this alongside Hydra's challenge gained the busiest queues, and with there being pretty much no theming or interactive elements within, it does hit hard on the score. The ride however totally makes up for that, with you and up to 2 others being able to board a Lego boat, and similar to driving school, you'll be able to take a trip across many Lego scenes and maybe even get a water spraying element too. So if that does not make you want to ride, I honestly do not know what will, and therefore I have given Coastguard HQ a final score of 18. Next up on our all rides list, things are about to get a little bit piratey, as we have Pirate Falls Treasure Quest, and no matter whether it is a sunny or raining day, then this water ride is a must do. Themed to, believe it or not, Lego Pirates, once you have boarded your pirate ship, you will set off past many Lego pirates, mice, and even a giant octopus on the hunt for the hidden treasure. However, this is not all easy sailing, as there are also many bad pirates lurking around, and once you find the hidden treasure, spoiler alert, there is an explosion causing you to plummet into the water below, and at that point you will both fall in love with this ride and wish that you brought a spare pair of clothes. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that for the youngsters out there, instead of having to queue up in that long queue line, there is a built-in play area, bringing the total score to a whopping 31. If you are scared of heights, then skip to the next ride, as we, and by we I mean you, are about to go higher into the air on DUPLO Airport. Situated within DUPLO Valley, similar to the Dino coaster, this is a great ride for the younger guests at the park looking for a fun family ride. However, unlike the DUPLO Dino coaster and the rest of attractions in the land, this one is interactive, meaning that once you board your helicopter, by using the levers in front of you, you can both rise up and down, as well as spinning around to your heart's content. How cool is that? And with the addition of the often reasonable queue line for this ride, as well as the great views across DUPLO Valley, I am going to give this ride a score of 11. Ahoy there me hearties, and welcome back to Pirates Cove for Jolly Rocker. Okay, that was another horrendous joke of mine, but this ride sure isn't, with this pirate ship attraction providing both fun and the much beloved thrills to a family pirate ship ride. Nevertheless, before we do continue to talk about the ride experience, due to it being one of the most common types of rides around the world, we would recommend riding the more unique rides first, especially on those busy days. Yet if you do decide to jump aboard, you will definitely not be disappointed, with in a nutshell the ship rocking back and forth to a total height of 18 meters during the 2-minute duration of the ride. Just try your best to get the back or the front row for the best experience, but no matter where you sit, this awesome ride is gaining a final score of 22. For our first ride in the Kingdom of the Pharoahs and my personal favourite laser game at the park, we have Laser Raiders. Now this ride is plain down amazing, but I have to start off with the queue line, as despite many of my friends not actually liking it, I think it can't get much better than what it is, with you not only entering into an ancient temple, seeing many interactive models along the way, and having a few hidden surprises, but there is also a Lego movie playing all day throughout the queue line. So if you are heading onto the ride with a 90-minute queue, by the time that the movie is over, you will be at the front of the queue line. How awesome is that? But the ride does not disappoint either, featuring tons of Lego scenes, obstacles and bad guys along the way. Once you have boarded your desert off-roader vehicle and picked up your laser gun, it is up to you to shoot them and stop the bad guys. So what are you waiting for? See who wins on Laser Raiders, the ride which I'm going to score 22. All aboard, as next up on our list we're going to take a trip onto the Legoland Express. And no matter whether you want to see the sights of Legoland or just want to take a relaxing ride around the park, then this is the train ride for you. Featuring a total of unfortunately 0 stops, this ride has not got that one place to the other pull towards it. Nevertheless, for me, this ride is so much fun as it is. After waiting in a pretty bad cattle pen queue line, I do have to say, you will get to board the very colourful Lego train, which will then transport you through the queue line of Laser Raiders, past some very cheeky, and by cheeky I mean spray water at you cheeky animals, high above Lego City and around the haunted house monster party. Therefore, if this ride has got a queue line below 30 minutes, this ride is a must do, and therefore we are giving it a combined score of 14. Who here has seen the Legoland Windsor Vikings? Well, if you haven't, you must take a trip onto Viking River Splash, or should I say Viking River. No, that was a horrendous joke, but I will get onto that later on, as first of all, the biggest piece of advice that I could give you on this video is not to go onto that ride at the beginning or the end, as due to this water ride being located at the top of the hill, many people often choose to ride at the start or end of the day, whereas if you wait to the middle of the day you could easily halve your waiting time. However, in terms of the ride itself, I used to love this ride, but since the removal of literally all the water effects, you just head around a rapids with minimal theming and without getting wet at all. So for those reasons I wouldn't even queue up more than 10 minutes anymore for this attraction, and I'm going to give it a pretty low score of 16. Coming in next on our list, we're going to take off into the sky once again with Balloon School, and like many of the other rides on the list, this is an interactive attraction. However, instead of flying a helicopter, shooting bad guys or driving a boat, you will be able to operate your very own hot air balloon through the use of a rope. Similar to a real hot air balloon, by pulling this rope down you will rise, and by releasing it you will descend to the bottom. But do not fear parents, as it is connected to an arm, so you will not fly out of Legoland. Nevertheless, the only thing I would pick up on with this ride is that since its ride's debut easily 10 or 20 years ago, nothing has changed, leaving it fairly outdated. But will this year's refurbishment change this? I don't know, but currently it has a score of 9. If the Legoland Express is too busy or you are looking for a smaller train ride, then you must jump aboard the DUPLO Express for, let's just say, a less intense experience than a normal train ride, if that is possible. Now, by no means is this ride for my age group, and I know that when I was younger I used to love this ride. However, as I think you can tell by these clips, it is not thrilling at all, and there is hardly if any queue line to judge for this ride. Yet if you can fit in the carriage, the 3 laps that you will complete with all of its landscaping as well as DUPLO models throughout makes this ride a little bit more fun. Therefore, when taking into account the experiences throughout my entire life as well as what it is like now, the DUPLO Express is getting the lowest score so far of 5. From the least intense ride to the most, we now have the amazing Mears Rhine Adventure, and I apologise for my horrific Legoland pun. However, Legoland should not apologise when looking at this ride. Situated off the edge of Heartlake City, where the digger ride used to be, for any of those younger thrill seekers out there, you should definitely saddle up, because on this adventure not only do you rise up and down, but you also spin around, and you do not need to be a rocket scientist to know that that is awesome, but at the same time pretty intense. Just to warn everyone know, if you've never been on a Zamperla disco before, the restraints are incredibly uncomfortable, but with all the other parts on this ride, I think Mears Rhine Adventure deserves a solid score of 25. Back to LEGO Ninjago Land for our final ride out of the 2, we have Destiny's Bounty, and similar to Jolly Rocker, this ride is a very common type of flat ride, so normally with it reaching some surprisingly long queues, we do try our best to avoid it. Nevertheless, if you find it with a shortish queue, or are just eager to take voyage on the Destiny Bounty, you sure won't be disappointed, with in a nutshell it rocking you back and forth whilst the entire boat rotates around, creating an unforgettable experience. If you want an even more intense experience though, also like the Jolly Roger, try your best to get the back or the front of the boat, as you will get the full impact of the spin, and therefore we have decided to give Destiny Bounty a score of 16. If you are too small to ride LEGO Driving School, do not fear, as for anyone between the age of 3 and 5, you can still gain your official Legoland driving license on Learning Drivers, which is located right next door. As soon as you have watched the safety video and your safety checks have been completed, you can put your foot to the metal and drive around the more quiet roads of LEGO City. Yet by no means does that mean it is easier though, as along your way there are still many obstacles to throw you off course, but as long as you keep going you will definitely deserve your driver's license. So despite me not riding this ride for the last 12 years of my life, but from the best of my memories on this ride, as well as asking many people who can still ride, I am going to give Learner Driver a combined score of 6. You cannot have a theme park without a Ferris wheel, and Legoland Windsor is no exception, as next up on our list we have Aero Nomad. Now by no means is this the tallest ride at the park, but it is a really great one for the families out there, with you being able to board your very own hot air balloon themed cabin and go around in circles, providing a fantastic view of the Kingdom of the Pharoahs, but also the rest of the park. In addition to this, for anyone who is wheelchair accessible, Aero Normad has you covered with a specially made cabin, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Just make sure to ask a staff member in advance. So for all of this and so much more, including the very short queue line, we are going to give Aero Nomad a score of 13. Situated right next door to Aero Nomad, we have Desert Chase, the park's carousel ride. Nevertheless, the ranking of this attraction was very hard, as despite it only being one ride, it all depends on what seat you choose. If you decide to sit on the very basic seat, then I think the fun factor of this ride will go into the negatives. If you choose to go on a horse, then this ride is okay, but if you manage to get lucky enough to sit on that spinning teacup, the sensation of spinning around mega fast whilst also moving on the carousel is an experience that you and your stomach will never ever forget. So therefore, when taking into account that you can't always get that legendary teacup, in addition to the fact that there are so many more better and unique rides at the park, we have decided to give Desert Chase a total score of 8. Get your sick bags ready, because next up on our list we have spinning spiders, and if you didn't get the opportunity to get on the teacup on the carousel, then do not fear, as this attraction is full of them. In terms of the ride experience though, I think just looking at it is quite self-explanatory. However, in a nutshell, once you have boarded your log, and choose with caution because some of them are more intense than others, you'll be able to spin it faster and faster and faster by using a disc in the middle. Yet it does not stop there, as in addition to this, your log is also on a spinning platform, which is then also connected to another spinning platform. So yeah, you can get pretty dizzy on this attraction, but also have a very fun time. And with the great spider theming too, I have to give this ride a final score of 22. For our second to final ride that we're going to cover in Kingdom of the Pharoahs, we have Thunder Blazer. And despite it sounding pretty intense, trust me when I say it is far from it, with this chair swing ride being so low down to the ground that I can physically touch a floor. Nevertheless, I do know that I am not the target audience for this ride, and therefore when looking at it from my smaller eyes, it is actually a really good fun attraction, with you being able to have that really fun swinging sensation without the scary heights of these bigger rides out there. Also, just as a quick tip in advance, if you are a little bit older, make sure to get the outward seats, as they do have a little bit more room, but no matter where you sit you are definitely going to be cramped, but also have an incredible ride, and for that reason we're going to give it a final score of 9. There has been a fire in Lego City and it is up to you to save the day with Fire Academy, and out of all the attractions within Lego City, this has got to be one of my favourites. As soon as you have completed your briefing, the fire bell will ring, signalling the start of your adventure, followed by you jumping aboard the fire truck, which to make it move requires 2 people to pull the levers up and down. Although we are nowhere near over yet, as once you have made it to the fire, you will need to shoot out the flames before racing back to the start. Wow, that is a workout and a half, but also an incredibly fun interactive ride at the park. The question is though, do you have what it takes to beat my record time of 1 minute 45 seconds or not? Comment down below. Yet in terms of the score, we are giving it a solid 19. Next up on our list we have Merlin's Challenge, and for anyone who wants to become the bravest of knights, then this is the ride for you. Previously being located near such classics as Dino Safari before being moved to the Knight's Kingdom, as a child I've always loved the memories on this ride, but still to this very day it is a must do for me. Once boarded your train though, after a normally very short and enjoyable queue line of watching the ride, you will basically race around a roundabout with a few bumps along the way, faster and faster and faster until you are literally flying all over the place, whilst the brand new catchy soundtrack plays. Therefore, due to all of this, Merlin's Challenge is a great ride to do once in a while, and therefore I am going to give it a score of 21. Who here has struggled up that dreaded Legoland hill before? Well, if so, do not fear anymore, as for this spot we have the hill train, and as long as it is open, this is one of the most helpful rides at the park. Located at both the entrance to the park next to the sweet shop, as well as the bottom at NINJAGO, no matter what time you visit, the hill train will transport you back and forth between the stations. How cool is that? Nevertheless, in my opinion, it is more than just a transportation system, as the experience of heading down the steep hill past many of my favourite rides is so much fun, and so I'm going to give the hill train a combined score of 8. It is time for our final roller coaster at the park, as next up on the list we have the Dragon Apprentice, which in my opinion is the most intense roller coaster at the park. However, I also know that many people, and I mean many people, do disagree with that, and therefore I'm going to give it a lower ranking on the thrill level, although it is not only the thrills in this ride that makes it totally awesome, as everything from the cuteness of the car to the awesome turrets to even the fact that you can do 2 or possibly 3 laps if you are lucky creates an experience that you will never forget. Therefore, as long as you are willing to wait in the very slow and painful queue line when taking into account everything the Dragon Apprentice has to offer, it is amazing, and for those reasons I'm going to give it a final score of 27. Here we enter my worst land at Legoland Windsor, the Lego Imagination Centre, and for the only attraction in the land, Skyrider. And where do I begin when talking about this attraction? As do not get me wrong, if you do choose to go on the Skyrider, this monorail style attraction will take you on a nice, calm and enjoyable 3-minute journey above the Imagination Centre, as well as passing the outskirts of both DUPLO Valley and Mini Land, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. But then we have the queue line, and if I can find a clip to show you I will, but calling it a cardboard box would be a compliment. And when this ride reaches an average queue of 30 minutes, it is plain down painful, and if I could give it a lower score than 0, I would do that. But unfortunately I cannot, and with the rest of the ride being really good, I'm going to give Skyrider a score of 13. Who here has heard of Raft Racers? Well, I doubt you have, but as a matter of fact, this is one of Legoland's many attractions and one of my personal favourites. The problem is though, it is never ever open, and since we started our YouTube channel almost 5 years ago, we have only managed to get on this ride once, and as a heads up, we visit the park twice a week. Yet, let's say by some miracle you manage to get on here, you will be having a great ride, with you getting to board a raft on either the blue or yellow slide, which then once a button is pushed will race the other raft round many twists and turns before finishing off in DUPLO Valley. So no matter where you are or what you are planning to do in your day, if this ride opens up, rush there quick, as I promise you after riding you will agree that Raft Racers deserves a final score of 23. After 31 attractions and over 5,000 words and me almost losing my voice, we have made it to the last ride at Legoland Windsor, Scarab Bouncers, and for anyone looking for a little bit less thrills than Ice Freefall, then this is the ride for you. Identical to such attractions as Peter Rabbit's Hippity Hop at Alton Towers and Star Tower at Thorpe Park, on this ride you will get to rise, drop and bounce for the entirety of the attraction. Nevertheless, the reason why I, as a 16-year-old, prefer Ice Freefall as I did mention earlier, was because there is only one seat that an adult can sit on, and with there being a lot of parents at the park who obviously have kids who want to get on the ride too, I just feel awkward sitting on there at the moment, and therefore with not riding for a while, I'm going to give this ride a final score of 19. There you go, we have just ranked and reviewed every single ride at Legoland Windsor, and if you have enjoyed, please consider subscribing, and if you want to see every single number per category, we have it all down in the description below. Nevertheless, with all that said, there is only one thing left to say. My name is Tom Derrick from Theme Park Coastin, and I will see you for the next video. Goodbye.